We are chatting the newest episode of the Mandalorian, chapter 20, episode 4 of the season. Ben, how's it going?
Not too bad, Stefano. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. This episode was an interesting one. We had a little bit of a, probably, I think, the most discourse pre-episode chat that we've had so far. We really
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
exchanged too much leading into the episode, but I feel like this one here, we had a lot to talk about right away. So very little happens.
yes,
There's
very little. Well, if you look at the runtime, you take out the previously on, and you take out the credits, and we've got 26 minutes of episode here, which is, I mean, that's a sitcom.
yeah, it
Yeah,
really is. It's very little content, a very little runtime. It gives me this weird feeling that what we hoped for in the first episode chat is not happening. Being we're actually getting just these. They're replacing kind of these filler episodes with just these big special effect fight scenes. You
like
know,
monster from
monster really.
yeah,
This episode was broken down really into three parts. The first act was Grogu's training. Second act was the attempts to go figure out where the foundling has been captured to, and Grogu's part continues there with the backstory portion, which really is the meat of the episode. And the third act was the recovery of the foundling. So that's pretty much it.
yeah. There, like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of meat with this episode. I mean, we're this is the halfway point of the season, and if you were to ask me, like, hey, what's the overarching story here? I mean, I think there's a lot of focus on Bo, but like there doesn't seem to be anything super concrete at this point. I know we still have four left, but it's a lot of groundwork they got to make up if they're going to make this season compelling as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's really where it's lacking. We're chatting episode per episode, but we haven't really talked about. This is the first time that we're both clicking into like what is the actual story that they're trying to tell here. It does not feel like it's a overarching story from beginning to end of season. We don't have a major villain, an enemy of some sort. Nothing is really happening. I feel like we've just been getting big snippet moments from across the universe, across the Star Wars galaxy, and I feel like they're just telling some stories now.
Yeah, it's the episode of the week format. I don't have an issue with that. Some shows pull it off very well. But when you've got such a limited number of episodes in a season, when you get one of them or even two of them that feel like filler, that's two episodes is a quarter of the season.
I thought taking the time off in between Boba Fett season 1 and Mando season 2, I thought they were, gonna really give us this really Star Wars heavy story. And like you said, two episodes of filler doesn't really give us too much confidence that you told a really good story here. You needed to fill the gap somewhere. Like 8 episodes, anyone can fill 8 episodes. We
Of
watched
course.
tons of series with 8 to 10, 12 really juicy episodes, and we're really not getting that here.
No.
Right, the episode's 26 minutes like you said, and more than 10 or 12 minutes of that was just, don't get me wrong, a very nice looking scene, but doesn't evolve the characters in any direction, just going to and trying to recover a foundling from being captured.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of like 90% of this episode is just kind of, another episode of the week, monster of the week in this case format. And then you've got a little snippet of character development for Bo kind of at the end of the episode. But I mean, when you're getting like 5 minutes of actual plot and character development in an episode that's already so short and so lean on runtime, like it doesn't feel like its own episode. This kind of feels like an in between. Like I almost wish that I could have watched the next one right after this to kind of advance the story a little more. This doesn't really feel like there's much here.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 episodes have given us just some monster to fight. The first episode we had that giant alligator crocodile. in the third episode, when he was in the second episode, when he was in Mandalore, he fought the mechanical spider.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And now in this episode, it's a pterodactyl. So yeah, you're right. Monster of the week we've been getting.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think I feel like it's more noticeable too, because the first season of Mandalorian, it did stray more towards the episode of the week format. There was an overarching story, but they had kind of had individual adventures. I think because the second season focused more heavily on Grogu's return to Luke, and we did start to see this progression of story over the course of a season, it feels almost like a step backwards, going back to, you know, what they kind of established in the first season with their formula.
I hope they can recover, but like you said, you know, we're not seeing any sort of overarching story here. So if episode 5 has nothing to do with any tie-in story, even potentially linking, to the New Republic storyline with the cloning, if it doesn't somehow interconnect in any way, it's going to be very scary for like the the season overall.
Yeah,
we have no idea what they're trying to tell, what kind of story they're trying to tell here.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're at the halfway point. Who knows? They could, pull a rabbit out of the hat. Back half of the season is just amazing. Hour-long episodes, story-driven. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, mostly is the negative part of the episode, which is the negative half. The positive half to the episode is the moments in the beginning when you do get some character development with, Grogu, and he's training. We're starting to see him go through some Mandalorian training. We're following him growing up as a Mandalorian, which is kind of cool. That story element was really nice. That 5 minutes, not even 4 minutes. And then the second story with him not only getting a second piece of armor, but also the backstory from back in the Clone Wars.
There was a nice little focus. I mean, the episode was called I think the title of it is Foundling, right? So I mean, you're getting a very Grogu focused episode for the most part, and we do get a little bit of nice backstory, and it's nice seeing that flashback to how he went from Coruscant during Order 66 to kind of where he is now, filling in a little bit of those gaps that we've been wondering about for a few seasons now.
Yeah, exactly. It was that aspect of it was, obviously the best parts of the episode. I did like his new armor, his new
his little like chest plate.
Yeah.
Grogu's their little paintball training session. I did like that. I thought he gets hit the first couple of times. I thought he was gonna force catch the third paintball, but he ends up doing his little backflip instead.
Yeah, the little backflips that he likes to do. Those are fun. Yeah, so that training montage.
Yeah, that's all Luke taught him apparently, just the backflips.
Just how to do a backflip. That's it. Yeah. Going back to the Clone Wars episode, Clone Wars aspect of the episode, that was a nice flashback moment where we we discover who saved Grogu, and the actor
Ahmed Best. Who played Jar Jar? Yeah, that was. I'm looking at him. I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere. I recognize this guy, and I looked it up after the episode. I was like, oh, what a great way. He went through so much hell personally after episode 1 and all the backlash, and it's nice seeing him come back even in this brief kind of role and be such an integral part of Grogu's rescue.
Yeah. I absolutely loved it too. I actually got spoiled. It was like Wednesday morning. I was on TikTok and I saw the scene, and I recognized it immediately that it was nothing that I've ever seen before. So I'm like, oh man, this isn't the episode for sure. So I did get spoiled it. I knew it was gonna happen, but I only saw a snippet of it, so I knew that he was in the episode specifically. But yeah, it was a great thing that they did to bring him back.
Yeah, it was awful what happened to him and all the hate he got. And I mean, he's just an actor; he didn't deserve that. So it's nice, not only seeing him back in this different role, but just even reading online, the positive outpour from people just so happy to see him back in this universe. It was a nice moment. That was, I think, for me, the highlight of the episode.
Yeah.
Is seeing him and having him in that role.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That definitely is. It was something that's the story behind the love for Star Wars and the hate, unfortunately, too, supersede the actual story of of the episode. Because if it wasn't him and it was just another Jedi,
What had like, yeah, I mean, it was still a cool scene on its own, but
yeah,
it being him added a lot to it.
it did. It definitely added a lot. So yeah, that's yeah, it was a great moment that they did. I think that's it. So those are the three big the three big aspects of the episode, really. Really, I don't even know if the pterodactyls and the pterodactyl scene and the saving of the foundling like pushed Bo-Katan's story in a positive way. It didn't really do much. Like they already trusted her. They already trusted her. You know, according to their rules, just her being bathed in the living waters was enough for her to be redeemed. So it's not like she had to do something to gain their approval that she already has.
Well, you're right. I mean, there was a whole big scene in the last episode about them accepting her. You know, that's how they finished the episode. It was this big, great moment. And then we feel like we're kind of going back and it's like, oh, she feels the need to prove herself again. I did like when she tells the armorer that, you know, I was like, oh, I saw the mythosaur in the armor. Just like, oh yeah, sure you did. We all see things when you walked the way.
Yeah.
So she doesn't. Not sure she totally believes that she saw it, but Bo seems to be kind of hell bent on
Yeah.
proving it.
I actually didn't expect her to tell her, the armor. I was expecting her to keep it to herself. And you know, obviously, I don't know where that leads. I don't know where that goes. Is she still trying to sway them in some sort of way, or is she actually just trying to join them?
Yeah, I don't know. It remains to be seen at this point. Obviously, there's a lot more to Bo than meets the eye. So we'll see if she is gonna kind of use this for personal gain. But yeah, I was shocked too by the fact that she just flat out, you know, tried to confess that she's seen the mythosaur. It seemed kind of out of left field, but who knows what they're gonna do with that.
So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this might be a short cat with the length of this episode, but yeah, not a lot of meat on the bones here to talk about. So hopefully, I don't know if we know the runtime of next week, but hopefully it breaks the half-hour barrier.
Yeah, hopefully, and not because of the length of time, but you know, as much as we had our complaints about episode 3. And the New Republic storyline, there was a lot to talk about. A lot happened.
Exactly.
Right. It was a very heavy episode in terms of like conversations and expanding some sort of story. So we did have a lot to talk about, and that chat was like 40-ish minutes, and here we're talking almost just as long as the episode is, like 25 30 minutes. Ben, thank you so much for joining me again this week on talking about episode 4 of Mandalorian. We do have high hopes for episode 5. We've expressed it. Let's hope they pull through.
Fingers crossed.